Okay, Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Right. Okay, so untuk this week, as you all noticed lah, from the memo, and I also posted the memo in the future, they allow us to do so-called hybrid or not really hybrid lah ni, more on the online session for this week only, right? Due to the festive holiday just recently, so minggu ni dia bagilah buat online ya. So kita akan continue with topic 3 that we left off in our previous meeting. Okay, but let me share with you kejap. Alright, so bear with me kejap. Right. So if you recall last session, okay, we've discussed initially the introduction of financial management, and then we go topic number 2 whereby we run through again the financial statements. Kita tengok balik the balance sheet, okay, the statement of financial position, and then we went through income statements as well. Okay, and then we went to topic 3 whereby we discuss about financial ratios. And again, if you recall, we have 5 different categories. Kita ada current ataupun the current ratios, okay, yang under the liquidity, and then we have the leverage yang kita akan lagi, okay, and then we have leverage, activity ratios, profitability ratios, and lastly it will be market ratios. Okay, I dah lama tak guna Google Meet ni, so you have to bear with me. Sebab bila ada orang nak masuk, I dah lama tak set this as auto admit so you have to bear lah. I have to go back and forth whenever I hear people want to join the room. Right, so we restart at second category, which is leverage ratios. So leverage ratios basically associate dengan debt, hutang, okay, hutang of the company lah. So the purpose of leverage ratios is to measure, number one is the firm's financial structure, okay, the firm's financial structure. So when we talk about financial structure, again, kalau you tengok dalam the balance sheet, kita ada assets, then we have liabilities and equity kan. So the structure is basically to show the percentage ataupun the ratio between the debts and the equity of the firm. So maknanya from the total assets that they have, okay, how many percent it will be derived from the debt and berapa percent comes from the equity. Okay, so that is actually financial structure lah, the ratio between the debts and also equity. Okay, secondly, to see to what extent the firm is levered by debt, okay, kebergantungan kepada hutang, and also you want to see the capability of the firms to service its debt. Okay, mampu ke tak dia nak bayar ataupun service dia punya debt lah. Okay, so the higher degree of indebtedness will result to the higher risk, and therefore indicates that the company and the firm is subject to higher fixed payment obligation. So as a normal layman's, okay, lagi tinggi hutang seseorang, lagi tinggilah dia punya fixed payment obligation. Okay, setiap bulan they have to allocate certain amount of funds, certain amount of money for them to pay their debts. Okay, kalau kita individually, kita adalah kita punya fixed payment, macam contohnya if we purchase a car, a house for example, so kita ada fixed payment setiap bulan, okay, that we have to pay, okay, to service, right? Okay. However, at the same time, the higher the risk, it also can be associated with the higher return. So basically, as a firm, they have to balance it out lah. Tak boleh terlalu tinggi, because if it's too high, then they have problems in servicing the debts. They have a higher fixed payment obligations, but at the same time, kalau dia ada level of debt yang terlalu rendah, dia selalunya akan associate dengan low return as well. Okay, so therefore they have to make a proper balance between the two, between the debt ataupun leverage dengan dia punya equity. Alright, and there are some, you know, kita panggil dia advantage lah ataupun pros if they use debt, for example, because usually when we talk about debt, the cost to, you know, to acquire debt is cheaper, and on top of that the interest is tax deductible. Kalau you ingat last meeting ada share with you, bila kita nak tengok dalam kita punya income statement, kita ada earning before interest and taxes, we have to remove the interest element to derive the EBT, earning before tax, and the EBT tu yang kita gunakan untuk determine how much profit ataupun how much tax they have to pay to the government. Okay, so that's why interest removed from the earnings because interest is tax deductible. Okay, and the firm finances its activities with less equity, and this can result to higher earning per share. So earning per share ni nanti kita tengok dalam ratio yang terakhir, kategori yang kelima tu, market ratio. One of the ratio is called earning per share. So untuk that to see the financial leverage, okay, financial leverage ratios, kita ada 3 ratio lagi. Okay, remember in the first category we have 2 ratios juga. Now we have another 3 ratios, okay, additional 2 ratios. We have what we call as the debt ratio, okay, debt to equity ratio, and lastly times interest earned. Okay, again, if you recall from the previous session, the keyword dalam liquidity ratio last time I cakap is the word current. Okay, sebab the current tu lah the keywords that we use in determining what is the formula. Okay, so kalau apa kita tengok current ratio, we use current assets dengan current liabilities. Okay, net working capital and also quick ratio pun sama lah, cuma ada some variations to the formula. Okay, so for leverage, okay, mostly we're gonna use debt, liabilities, okay, liabilities to it lah. Right, so and some of the ratios kat sini we can determine it by looking at the name of the ratio. Okay, so for example, number one is called debt ratio. So let's look at the number 1. So debt ratio measures the proportion of the firm's total debt to its total assets. So satu lagi nak bagi tahu in terms of the name of the ratio for debt ratio, it has an alternative name. Okay, nama lain dia adalah debt to asset ratio. Okay, debt to asset ratio. So hence, can you see the punya proportion is between the total debt to its total assets. Okay, so debt over total assets. So here total debt referring to the total liabilities. So ingat dalam the balance sheet, the liabilities ada 2. Kita ada current liabilities and we have the non-current liabilities ataupun sometimes we call them long-term liabilities. So when we talk about total debt, we combine both current and also long-term liabilities into one, aggregated as total debt ataupun total liabilities lah. Okay, so we take that from the balance sheet and we divide it over total assets, and total asset pun kita dapatkan daripada balance sheet as well. Okay, so for this ratio, the answer will be in percentage. Okay, will be in percentage. Sebenarnya sebab we get to know that the class will can be conducted online. Ni agak last minute, masa tu dah cuti pun, I pun dah cuti awal this week. So I tak bawa balik my normal pen that I can use for online session lah. So I don't have the pen. Kalau tak, I boleh jot down some key pointers kat sini. Alright. Satu tadilah, total debt ni is equivalent to total liabilities, so you have to jot down yourself lah, total liabilities. And the total assets will be kita boleh dapat ni dekat dalam balance sheet jugalah, under total assets. And the answer is in percentage, so technically dekat belakang, after you take the numerator total debt, you divide with the denominator total assets. Technically, in order to get percentage, you have to multiply with 100. Okay, you have to multiply the result of this with 100 in order to get it in percentage. Okay, So the higher the ratio for this case is bad lah basically. Okay, kita nak ratio kita as low as possible. Okay, because if it's high, it indicates that they have a lot of amount of debts in order for them to finance their assets. Okay, so usually when we talk about debt ratio, roughly as a benchmark, selalunya it shouldn't be more than 40%. Okay, shouldn't be more than 40%. Tetapi again, for comparative purposes, to determine whether it's good or bad, again, kita kena buat either trend analysis ataupun comparative analysis or even both. Okay, kita kena compare dengan peers, kita kena compare dengan dia punya trend juga. Then it will be more beneficial as I mentioned. Okay, so tambah kat belakang tu, multiply with 100 in order to get it in percentage. Okay, sebab ratio ni dalam percentage. So kalau dapat katakanlah 0.37 contohnya, so it's technically 37%. Okay, so yeah, that's number one, debt ratio. Okay, debt ratio. Next, kita tengok debt to equity ratio. Okay, debt to equity ratio is another form of indicators, okay, to measure the level of leverage. Similar macam debt to asset ataupun debt ratio tadi, the name of the ratio can be used to determine what would be the formula. Kalau tadi tu debt ratio ataupun nama penuh dia debt to asset ratio is total debt divided by total assets. So for debt to equity, formula dia is total debt bahagi dengan total equity. Okay, so the numerator, the total debt is actually the same as the previous formula. So kalau sebelum ni katakanlah total debt you dapat 1 million, so untuk calculate debt to equity, the debt will be 1 million as well. Okay, right. So this is another form, okay, ataupun another option untuk calculate leverage. And if the ratio is more than 1, okay, more than 1.0 ataupun 1, ataupun kalau you convert into percentage, is more than 100%. So it indicates that the company uses more debts as compared to the equity. Okay, more than equity lah. Alright, so higher the ratio, again, is less desirable as it indicates greater use of debts and it involves high financial risk. Okay, so again, both so far, dua-dua lagi tinggi, lagi bad lah basically. So technically, we want both ratios to be as low as possible. Okay, as low as possible. Okay, debt to asset dengan debt to equity. Alright, and the third ratio, okay, under this leverage is called times interest earned. So untuk times interest earned, okay, unlike the first two, the measures in percentage. So untuk times interest earned, they go back macam first liquidity ratios. The answer will be in times, okay. And whenever the measurement is in times, kita nak the ratio to be as high as possible. So the higher the ratio, the better. Okay, untuk leverage ni, the times interest earned is different from the first two, whereby the higher the ratio, the better lah for this case. So this measurement, okay, to see whether the firms is able to pay interest charges based on the debt that they used, and it represents the margin in which the firm's earning before interest and taxes can decline before the firm has trouble in meeting the interest obligation. So technically, you want to see earnings dia cukup tak nak bayar interest to service the interest. So the higher the ratio indicates they will have no problems to meet loan obligations and in terms of loan charges, and it indicates higher margin of safety. So maknanya risiko dia untuk default tu akan lagi rendah lah kalau dia punya ratio ni tinggi. Okay, so the higher the ratio, the better, remember. So the higher ratio menunjukkan dia ada high margin of safety and dia boleh bayar dengan mudah je dia punya loan charges. Okay, as simple illustration yang boleh letak, katakanlah dia punya earning before interest and tax dia ada, I don't know, 100,000 contoh lah, 100,000. Okay, 100,000. Okay, earning before interest and tax dia RM100,000. And they have interest to serve, let's say 10,000 ringgit. Okay, so 100,000 divided by 10 is 10,000 ataupun 10 times. So this indicates that this firm has 10 times ability to service interest. So dia ada 10 kali income, 10 kali value of income in order to serve dia punya interest. Okay, dalam bahasa mudah dia, kalau kita nak tengok to ringgit kan dia, so setiap RM1 dia hutang interest, dia ada RM10 untuk cover. Kalau dia 10 times lah, so it shows that dia punya ability to serve RM1 tu is very strong. Okay, as compared to kalau earning before interest and tax dia, for another company, katakanlah, I don't know, 500,000, tapi dia punya tu ada 50,000. Tu sama juga 10 kan. Let's say 50,000, 500,000, betul lah, 500,000 divided by, let's say 10,000. Okay, 50,000 ringgit with the 10,000. So dia punya ratio adalah 5 times. So if it's 5 times compared dengan 10 times, obviously the 10 times times interest earn have better margin of safety, and dia punya ability to meet loan charges is better than the first ataupun the ones with 5 times time interest earn companies. Okay, let's tengok some illustration from the previous example. If I recall correctly, kita buat June 2018 kan for this group, sebab masa kita punya first meeting tu, for both classes, I use 2 different question, even though there's no significant pun, tapi saja je I tak nak guna soalan yang sama. But if I recall correctly, for you guys, group N yang pukul 2 ni, I use June 2018 as an example. Okay, and if you recall juga, last time kita dah kira the current ratio and also quick ratio, and then we compare, okay, the Supermax Berhad against the current ratio, okay, the respectively, yeah. So next, kalau tengok dalam industry average ni, dia bagi 2 lagi ratio kat bawah ni, okay, debt ratio and times interest earn. So these 2 ratios falls under the category of leverage, okay, the ones that we just did just now. Okay, so debt ratio dia untuk industry average 57%, and the times interest earn of the industry is 12.4%. Okay, 12.4%. Sekejap tengok I boleh tak illustrate ataupun can I annotate kat sini Okay, tak apa. I'll be trying to see the question ni. Okay, so remember tadi kita nak cari debt ratio. So the debt ratio is actually formula dia adalah total liabilities, then we divide by total assets. So those information ada dekat atas ni. Okay, ada dekat atas ni. So if I can use pen kat sini lah. So total liabilities you consists of this sampai long term debt. So this is your total debt lah basically. So nak tulis pakai mouse ni susah sikit something like that lah. This is total liabilities. Account payable, notes payable dengan long-term debt. So the first two was the current liabilities, and long-term debt is the long-term liability. So you combine all 3, it becomes your total liabilities. Okay, and your total assets tak payah kira lah, dia ada kat sini, 391,400. So take your pens and calculators. So you add all 3 kat sini, 55,200, 56,400, and 79,600. Okay, becomes your total liabilities, and then you divide by the total assets of 391,400. to find your so-called debt ratio. Okay, yeah, debt ratio ni. And times 100 lah in order to convert it in percentage. Okay, boleh tolong kira tak? %48.85%. Okay, about 48.9% lah. Ataupun boleh lah guna 48 point apa tadi? 85%. Okay, thank you for 8.85%. So comparatively, okay, dalam soalan ni, the industry average is set at 57%. Okay, 57%. Remember for that ratio, kita nak the ratio to be as low as possible. Okay, so comparatively, we can see that Supermax Berhad's debt ratio is lower than the industry's debt ratio. That indicates that the company, okay, the firm, okay, kalau tengok kat sini, the firm has lesser use of debt, and the dependability of debt is lesser than the industry average. Okay, so dia punya kebergantungan dia kepada hutang tu lagi rendah lah from the industry's point of view. Okay, so that's ratio yang pertama for today. And second, kita ada times interest earn. Okay, cuma terbalik dengan debt ratio, times interest earn, the higher the ratio, the better. Okay, the higher the ratio, the better. So, formula dia adalah earning before interest and tax. Okay, earning before interest and tax ada kat sini, 451,800. And divide by the interest. Okay, and the interest is just below earning before interest and taxes. So, technically, when we want to calculate times interest earn, sepatutnya information dua ni will be concurrently. Concurrent lah, maknanya after one information, then the next information ada dekat bawah, kat sini. Okay, sepatutnya macam tu lah dia punya ni. Unless some question dia tak bagi interest, dia terus bagi EBT contohnya, so you have to find something hidden dalam soalan. Okay, tapi untuk soalan ni, they give you both EBIT, earning before interest and taxes, and interest diberi dalam soalan. So very straightforward, 451,800 divide by 39,150, then you're going to get your ratio. So berapa tu? 451,800 divide by 39,150. Dapat, it's about 11.54 times. Okay, 11.54 times. Alright, and as compared to industry average, the industry average is at 12.4 times. So dalam case ni, Supermax Berhad's times interest earns is lower than the industry's average of 12.4% ataupun 12.4 times. So this indicates that the firms has lower ability to service its debts. Okay, service its debts. Itu je. Okay, bukan maksud dia punya service debt dia tak mampu nak service dia punya debt, dia mampu, tapi dia punya ability dia lebih rendah. Okay, lower ability to service its debt, okay, as compared to the industry average. So bukanlah kata dia akan bankrupt sebab dia punya capability still besar, 11.4. Okay, so kita tak boleh lah kata 11.4 tu that bad sebab dia punya value of income ni, okay, ada 11 kali ganda daripada jumlah interest yang dia kena bayar. Right, so technically speaking still sustainable dia punya business punya structure tu still sustainable. Dia ada some improvement, some room untuk dia buat loan lagi. Okay, sebab very small je amount dia. But again, if you want to compare with industry average, the industry average is better lah sebab dia 12.4%. ataupun 12.4 times, 12.4 times. Okay, so that is the times interest earned. Okay, so dalam case ni lagi tinggi lagi bagus. Dalam case yang tadi, Supermax has lower ability to service and meet the loan charges. Okay, right. So that's the second category. So far dah 6 We have liquidity 3, then we have leverage another 3. So moving on to the third category. The third category is called activity ratios. Okay, activity ratios. So activity ratios, we want to see how the manager make their decisions, make use all the resources, relevant resources, in order to generate sales. Okay, so that the keywords kat sini to generate sales and its contribution towards achievement of the firm's goal, which is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. Okay, so ratio ni kita akan tengoklah how they manage their resources, their assets, and how they manage their operations. Right. So for this case, activity ratios, we have 5 types of ratios. So 6 plus 5, so far we're going to see 11 ratios so far. So dia ada average collection period, ataupun sometimes in short kita panggil dia ACP. Okay, ACP. Then we have account receivable turnover. Okay, account receivable turnover, inventory turnover, fixed asset turnover, and lastly total asset turnover. So you're going to see kat sini ada, the first one is ACP, and we have 4 different turnovers. Ada account receivable, inventory, fixed assets, and total assets. Okay, so from here, I boleh beritahu, when you see the word turnover, kat dalam ratio ni, turnover referring to sales. Okay, keyword dia adalah sales. So that's why, kalau kita tengok balik, based on the definition, kita nak tengok how they manage the resources in order to generate sales kan. So the turnover ni, kebanyakannya kita akan refer to sales. Okay, refer to sales. Right. And in fact, SCP ni pun sebenarnya kita guna sales jugalah dalam kita punya calculation. First, we look at the average collection period ataupun ACP yang I mentioned tadi. So the ratio will determine the average length of time taken by the firm to collect its debts from the credit sales. So ada 2 keyword kat dalam statement ni. First, kita nak tengok how long it takes the firm untuk recover. So when we talk about collection, is basically recovery lah. Recovery, siapa yang kerja finance tahulah recovery tu is just how fast you want to collect your money, ialah basically your money from your credit sales. So kita jual barang kita secara credit to our client, so we want to collect it as soon as possible, right? So this is the only ratio whereby the answer will be in days, dalam hari. So far tadi kita dah tengok, even from the previous class, most of our ratios is either in times ataupun in percentage. Okay, but for this ECP, this is the only ratio yang jawapan dia dalam hari, in days, how many days taken, okay, in order to do their collection. So this ACP can be used to appraise the firm's account receivable. So this is another indicator. Dia guna account receivable as part of the punya formula that relates to the firm's credit policy. So credit policy ni nanti kita akan learn more, whereby kita ada 3 elements dalam credit policy. One is the credit standards. Okay, credit standard ni akan menentukan how the firms do their assessment lah, assessment of credit standard untuk pilih klien mana yang layak untuk dapat kredit. Okay, so that's the credit standard that the firm akan set lah. So every company yang bagi kredit will have their own credit standard, tak sama. Okay, some very strict and some might be lenient. Okay, company yang very, very strong and tak perlu pilih klien for example, so they can be very strict. Dia hanya pilih mana customer yang bagus je. Okay, because when we talk about good customer, kita nak customer yang can repay, yang boleh bayar balik. Buat apa kita nak bagi pinjam kepada someone yang tak mampu nak bayar balik kan? So they have to set a standard for themselves in terms of the credit lah, credit policy dia. Once dia dah do dia punya credit standard, dia dah decide macam mana dia nak select the best possible customers, then dia kena letak the credit terms. Okay, credit term. So credit term ni selalunya dibagilah tempoh berapa lama nak diberi kepada customer untuk bayar balik. Some maybe bagi, okay, credit term je 15 days or 30 days contohnya, or 60 days, 2 bulan. I don't know. It all depends on the company. Okay, so credit term ni salah satu contohnya macam tadi lah. Credit 15 days ataupun credit 30 days. So jual hari ni dalam tempoh 15 hari ataupun 30 hari dari date invoice, the client have to do the repayment contohnya. And sometimes the credit terms akan spell out any discount given kalau you bayar quickly. Okay, to apa? Okay, to encourage client to make early payments. Sometimes they give discount contohnya, to encourage customer to pay early. Okay, so itu pun akan ada dalam credit terms. So dia boleh letaklah some discounts in the credit terms. So katakan if you pay within 10 days, you get 2% discount. Okay, or else you have to pay in full in 30 days contohnya. So itu adalah credit terms. So credit terms ni boleh menunjukkan how long you have the maximum number of days for you to make your repayments. And then next is if there's any discount applicable to the terms. So semua tu kena mention dalam credit terms lah. Right, and lastly in the credit policy kena ada mention about collection juga, how to do collection. So ni semua nanti sebenarnya kita akan cerita in details when we do account receivable management dalam topik 6-7 macam tu lah. Okay, so the account receivable tu, amount dia, okay, the amount can be big, depends on two things. Number one, if the company has a lot of credit sales, account receivable dia akan tinggi. Okay, account receivable dia akan tinggi kalau the company give a lot of credit sales. So maknanya bila customer nak beli on credit je dia bagi. So account receivable dia akan besar lah. And satu lagi, account receivable can be big if they do slow collection. Collection dia yang slow pun akan menyebabkan account receivable ni besar juga sebab dia ambil masa yang lama untuk recover. To convert the account receivable into cash. So therefore the account receivable will be big. Okay, so that's the two reason why account receivable value can be high. Right, so to measure the ACP, kita akan ambil account receivable. So account receivable ni again ada dalam current assets. Sebab selalunya account receivable ni client have to pay within 1 year. Okay, in fact tak sampai 1 year, selalunya kita bagi kredit sebulan, 2 bulan, 3 bulan kan. So all the account receivable will be parked under current assets. So dah dapat account receivable as our numerator. So kita punya denominator dalam case ni adalah daily sales. Okay, note the word daily. Okay, we know sales ni kita boleh dapat dalam income statement. Okay, it is in our income statement. But daily kat sini, okay, daily here indicates sales yang kita kena divide by 360 days. Okay, dalam finance kita punya calculation of number of days kita gunakan 360. Okay, 360. So therefore, in order to get daily sales, kita ambil amount of sales yang dalam income statement tu, and we're going to divide that with 360 in order to get it in daily sales. Okay, let me try something kat sini maybe I stop sharing kejap. Oh. Okay, I'm trying. Quarterly report untuk kira daily sales. It depends on our resources. Sources tu lah. Kalau di quarterly, 3 months, then kita divide by 90 lah. Tapi selalunya when we refer to annual reports, kita ambil 360 lah. Okay, so it depends on the source of documents. Okay, so for example, nanti when you're doing your group project kan, so group project you memang akan refer to annual reports. So therefore we're going to use kita gunakan ni lah 360 boleh ya. Window pula. Okay. Right. Annotate-nya lupa lah. But anyway, so when you want to try kat sini, kalau boleh lah. So satu lagi cara, okay, kita go back kat sini. Satu lagi cara, if you don't want to use daily sales, you want to use sales saja, katakan lah. So you kena harap kat sini dengan 360. So bear with me the writing lah, sebab guna cursor je ni. So you can remove the daily kat sini. You buang daily kat sini. You take account receivables, okay, from your current assets, divide by sales, okay, divide by sales, then multiply with 360. Okay, multiply with 360, then you're going to get your answers in days. Okay, terus dapat dalam hari. And again, untuk case ni, ACP, the higher the ratio is not desirable. Kita tak nak kita punya collection lama lah. So therefore, the lower the ACP, the better for the company. Because the higher the ratio indicates the firm has problems in collecting the debts. Okay, akan ada masalah lah. So kita nak collection kita to be as quickly as possible. Okay, bear with me sekejap keep dulu annotation ni. We go back to here, right? So ACP selalunya memang akan ada lah dalam pasir ni. So ACP for the industry average is 23.6 days. Okay, it's about 24 days lah kat sini, kurang. So untuk calculation ni, we need the account receivable. So account receivable adalah 60,400. And we need sales. So the sales is 850, 200. Okay, so if you take that, okay, 60,400 divide by sales 850, 200. Okay, and then you multiply dengan 360. So you get about 25.6 days. Okay, Supermax punya ACP, average collection period adalah about 25.6 days. So again, if you compare dengan ACP of the industry hanyalah 23.6 days. So ada beza 2 hari kat situ. 23 dengan 25.6. Okay, 23.6 dengan 25.6. So dalam case ni, Supermax Berhards take a longer time than the industry average and do their collections. Okay, lagi tinggi dah daripada industry average. Okay, purata industri dengan company-company yang lain. So dia ambil masa lebih sedikit, over 2 days extra. So you can comment lah. Okay, Supermax Berhad requires 25.6 days, above the industry average, which requires just 23.6 days, which indicates that Supermax has a longer time, takes longer time to do their collection as compared to the industry average. Okay, so that's ACP. Okay, ACP lagi rendah lagi bagus dalam case Supermax tadi, they have a higher, okay, ataupun longer ACP as compared to the industry average. Okay, cuma like I said lah, kita tak boleh lah mungkin kita guna perkataan problem ni. Okay, kita katalah dia requires more time in do their collection ataupun in collecting their debts as compared to the industry average. Okay, because some industry mungkin kita nampak 25 days tu as normal. Some industry mungkin kata 25 tu is too long. Selalunya kita in average 10 days je. So kalau extreme macam tu, then we can see lah company tu ada problem. Tadi kalau tadi 25 dengan 23 is more or less dekat-dekat, tetapi still takes longer time lah, takes to do their collection. Okay, the second ratio under activity is called account receivable turnover. Okay, and as I said tadi, turnover ni you boleh associatekan dia dengan sales. Okay, sales. So whenever you see account receivable turnover, you know akan ada account receivable dalam formula dia, then dia ada sales dalam formula dia juga. Okay, so that's why from here, as you can see, the formula is sales divided by account receivable. Okay, so the higher account receivable turnover indicates that the company is efficient in receivable management with low average collection period. Okay, and again, kalau you tengok dia punya formula, it's actually in reverse dengan apa yang kita buat tadi. Kalau tadi formula dia account receivable bahagi sales, kan, times dengan 360. Okay. But here the formula is in reverse. So sales dekat atas as a numerator. So the denominator adalah account receivable. Here the formula is in times. So the higher the ratio reflect the effectiveness in collecting the receivables. Okay, right. The third ratio is called inventory turnover. Okay, inventory turnover. Right. So inventory turnover ni slightly special sikit. In all the turnovers, ingat tadi dalam kategori ni we have 4 different turnovers, and inventory turnover is the only ratio yang menggunakan perkataan turnover, but we don't use sales. Okay, we don't use sales in our formula. Okay, sales ni hanyalah sebagai alternative if we don't have cost of goods sold as our information. Okay, so our priority adalah menggunakan cost of goods sold and we divide it with inventory. Okay, so kalaulah COGS ataupun cost of goods sold ni is not given in the question, okay, then we use sales, okay, as an alternative information lah. Okay, kenapa kita guna cost of goods sold? Sebab kalau ikutkan cost of goods sold dengan sales ni, dia punya pemberat dia, weight dia is the same. Okay, pemberat dia adalah sama. What is the pemberat? Pemberat adalah jumlah unit of sales tu. Okay, jumlah unit of sales tu sama between the sales dengan cost of goods sold. Contohnya macam ni lah. Apa nak bagi example lah. Katakanlah phone ni. The phone selling price dia berapa lah? RM2,000 contohlah. The phone is RM2,000. Okay, RM2,000. And the cost to make this phone is apa? RM2,000. Katakanlah cost dia 500. Okay, the selling price is 2,000 and the cost is RM500. Okay, so in order to get the total sales, okay, from the RM2,000 per unit, I darab katakanlah I jual 100 unit. So 2,000 times 100 unit. Okay, ada 5 kosong kat situ. So my sales is 200,000. Contohnya lah. Okay, 2,000 darab apa tadi jawab? Jual 100 unit Okay, then you multiply, then you get the total sales amount. So the unit tu 100 katakanlah 100 So 2,000 darab 100, 200,000. So the 100 unit tu is the same between the sales dengan cost of goods sold. So cuma sales kita darab dengan selling price 100 unit with 2,000. Untuk cost of goods sold, I take 500 darab dengan 100 unit juga. So the 100 units each tu is consistent between sales dengan cost of goods sold. Cuma beza dia adalah the selling price and the cost of making this phone 500 ringgit. So dalam case inventory turnover, we use the cost 500 tu. So that's why kita gunakan cost of goods sold. Tetapi if we don't have the cost, then we use sales sebab dia punya pemerat like I said is the same 100 units. Cuma it's not really accurate lah sebab inventory selalunya is associated dengan cost sebab kita belum jual lagi. Okay, but if you don't have the cost of goods sold in the question, katakan, then they use sales. Tapi most of the time cost of goods sold ada je. Okay, ada je dalam kita punya annual reports. Okay, so for this case, the answer will be in times. Okay, to indicate that the ratio indicates that the firms has very effective in utilizing the inventory to generate sales. Okay. Then number 4 kita ada fixed asset turnover. So nombor 4 dengan nombor 5 ni kita go back to the original whereby the turnover tu associated dengan sales. So kalau fixed asset turnover, it means dia ada fixed asset, dia ada turnover dalam dia punya formula. So this is sales divided by fixed assets. Okay, so dia punya explanation is more or less the same lah for the rest. So just nak tengok how effective the firms use the resources. Dalam case ni, resources dia adalah fixed assets in order to generate sales. Okay, kalau total asset, the effectiveness of using the total assets to generate sales. Okay, so how the company utilize all the resources, okay, respective resources in order for them to generate sales. So again, bila kita nak tengok effectiveness, how good they utilizing their resources. So obviously kita nak ratio tu lagi tinggi, lagi bagus lah. So majority of the ratios dalam kategori ni, lagi tinggi the ratio, the better. Okay, except for the first one. Okay, first one ni lagi rendah lagi bagus sebab kita nak collection to be as quickly as possible. Okay, tapi for the yang ni yang lagi rendah lagi bagus. Tapi yang the rest, yang turnovers, semua 4 turnovers termasuklah dengan inventory ni, lagi tinggi lagi bagus. Okay, the higher the ratio, the better. To show ataupun to indicates the firm's ability to convert their resources into sales. Okay. Right. We'll go back to the question. Tengok balik soalan Supermax ni. So we've done the ACP just now. ACP kita dah buat 23.6. Okay, 23.6 untuk ACP. And if you look at the ratios available dalam ni, selain daripada ACP, kita ada total asset turnover as well. Total asset turnover ni adalah ratio untuk activity ratio as well. Okay, even though we have 5 different ratios, tetapi during the final exam punya time, selalunya dia keluar 2 je. They will ask only 2 ratios. So dalam case ni, they ask total asset turnover. So again, without looking at the formula just now, you see the turnover, you remember this is sales, and then we have total assets. Okay, so we need 2 information, the total assets and also the so-called sales. So total asset tak payah kira, total asset dia dah bagi kat sini 391,400. Cuma kalau kita katakan kita nak cari soalan dia is fixed asset turnover, then kita kena carilah fixed asset kat atas ni. Okay, kena calculate satu-satu lah. But since the question asks for total asset turnover, so we use lah total asset. So total asset adalah 391,400. Okay, and our sales turnover adalah 850,200. Right, so sales 850,200 and divide by total asset 391,400. So our ratio untuk total asset turnover is at 2.17. Okay, thank you Syafiq, 2.17. So 2.17 again compare dengan the industry average is at 2.30. Okay, slightly below the total asset turnover. So we can see that Supermax Berhad Berhad's total asset turnover is lower than the industry average. That indicate that the company ataupun the firm is less efficient ataupun less effective to convert its total asset into sales. Okay, sebab dia punya ratio lagi rendah kan, so dia less effective lah ataupun less efficient in converting total asset into sales. Okay, 2.17 versus 2.30 kan. So we can use the word macam tadi lah, less effective, ataupun kalau dia punya ratio lagi tinggi, kita boleh kata dia lagi more effective lah in converting total assets into sales. So apa indikator ni menunjukkan? Bayangkan dia ada total asset bernilai 391,400. That's the value of asset they have. Okay, from that value of asset that they have, dia boleh convert 850,200 ringgit worth of sales. Digunakan semua aset yang dia ada untuk generate that amount of sales. So obviously kalau lagi besar value sales dia, lagi tinggilah dia punya so-called total asset turnover dia. Okay, so comparatively, the industry average generate slightly above 2.3 times. Okay, so they're not that far. So tapi sebagai company, dia ada benchmark lah. Dia tahu, okay, the peers convert 2.3 times. So they have to improve their performance in order to catch up dengan industry average. So that's why we need this ratio at the first place. Sebab dia boleh compare dengan peers dia. So macam mana dia nak compare ataupun macam mana dia nak match, nak compete dengan dia punya rivals. So dia kena, among others, kalau nak increasekan the total asset turnover ni, dia kena make sure lah sales tahun depan lagi tinggi. Okay, sales kena lagi tinggi tahun depan, satu. Okay, katakanlah sales ni memang dah maksimum lah, dia dah tak boleh dah nak generate more sales dengan amount asset dia yang banyak ni. Contohnya lah, mungkin dia punya equipment ni dah outdated. Dia dah tak boleh generate sales yang baru, dia tak boleh produce more dah, contohnya lah. So they have to take into action, okay, we have to invest in equipment yang baru, yang boleh generate ataupun can produce more goods contohnya. Okay, so dia kena buat simulation lah. Okay, kalau kita invest new equipment, kita boleh produce more and kita boleh double up our sales in the future. So dia kena buat simulation. So that's the strategy as a finance managers kena buat lah, simulate the data and then kena present to the management. Okay, in order for us to compete, this is what we need to do, contohnya lah. So all of this involve decision making. Okay, and decision making ni kena based on data lah, kita tak boleh agak-agak aja. We have to have some data in order for us to make decisions wisely lah. Okay, boleh ke? Right, so we have two more categories. Okay, two more categories. But before we proceed with the fourth and fifth categories, let's take a quick break. Kita break kejap before kita explore two more categories. Ada banyak lagi ni. Profitability ni pun ada 5-6 ratios. Together with market, another 5-6 ratios as well. Okay, so kita take 5 kejap before kita continue after the break. Okay, so let's take 5. Okay, let's proceed with the next category. Okay, which is profitability ratio. Right, so this is another important indicators because you want to see at the end of the day when we talk about firm's performance, okay, one of the key factors is actually profitability. How profitable a company. So kalau they manage dia punya asset bagus ke, tapi kalau profitability dia very low, it's not that worthwhile pun. So therefore, to measure the relative success of the company, so it must combine the effect of the liquidity, the activity that they've done in terms of the effectiveness and efficiency, and how they manage their debts in terms of measuring the overall operating results. So untuk profitability ni in general, higher ratio is preferred. Okay, even though ada satu ratio kejap lagi mungkin you akan nampak lah. The ratio lagi rendah lagi bagus when we talk about operating expenses. Sebab bila kita tengok profit memang lagi tinggi lagi bagus lah. Tapi dia ada satu ratio tu, the lower the better when we talk about the expenses. Okay, expenses. Right. So ada 6 ratio kat sini. We have 6 different ratios. Gross profit margin, operating profit margin, operating ratio, net profit margin, ROE, return on equity dengan return on asset ataupun ROA. Okay, so untuk profitability ratios ni, most of the names of the ratio ni indicates actually the formula. Okay, indicates the formula. So for example lah, the word margin yang you nampak kat sini, ada 3 ratios with margin, gross profit margin, operating profit margin and even net profit margin. So ketiga-tiga ni adalah the 3 levels of profits. Okay, gross profit kat atas sekali, the first level is gross profit. Then we have operating profit ataupun earning before interest and taxes, EBIT tu. Then we have net profit. Okay, so the margin ni is actually similar like turnover yang awal tadi, where margin ni associated dengan sales juga. So whenever you see the word margin dalam ratio, formula dia adalah respective lah, gross profit ke, operating profit ke, net profit ke, kita bahagi dengan sales. Okay, now let's move, kita tengok satu-satu lah. Okay, so we start with gross profit margin. So gross profit margin is a measurement of ability of the firm, okay, to control the variable cost. Sebab dalam gross profit ni, dia punya cost dia adalah cost of goods sold. So cost of goods sold ni variable. Sebab apa? Sebab dia associate dengan the unit. Remember I bagi example tadi? The cost tu berubah mengikut unit. So kalau I jual 100 unit, kita darab dengan cost. So kalau kita punya unit of sales tu lagi tinggi, kita punya variable cost akan naik jugalah according to the units. Tetapi macam some cost yang dipanggil fixed cost, dia tak ada implikasi based on variable. Maksud kalau unit dia jual lagi banyak ke ataupun rendah ke, the cost will be fixed. Itu nama dia fixed cost. Contoh macam utility bills. Utility bills you akan katakanlah internet broadband you setiap bulan RM200. So you jual banyak mana pun bulan tu, your cost ni RM200. Contohnya lah, kalau you jual 50 unit, cost broadband RM200. Kalau you jual 1000 unit pun, cost you RM200. So that's fixed cost. So when we talk about variable cost ni, the cost associated dengan jumlah unit yang you jual. Okay, so dia bergantung pada cost of goods sold lah basically. So cost of goods sold ni associated ataupun reflected dengan dia punya gross profit. Sebab cost of goods sold tu kita akan tolak from our sales in order for us to get gross profit. So if we manage our variable costs to control, so lagi tinggilah kita punya gross profit margin. So higher the ratio, the better. Okay, to indicate a lower cost of goods sold in relative to the sales amount. So dalam case ni, the answer is in percentage. So bila dalam percentage, remember, try annotate lagi guna mouse ni. Setiap kali yang percentage ni kena darab dengan 100. dengan 100 lah. Okay, multiply with 100 in order for you to get the percentage. So the higher the ratio, the better, indicates higher contribution margin. Okay, higher contribution margin. Next is the second level of profit, operating profit, ataupun sometimes it's called earning before interest and taxes. Okay, in relation to sales as well. Okay, so nampak perkataan margin? Remember, margin akan relates dengan sales. Okay, margin associate dengan sales. So kalau operating profit bermaksud earning before interest and tax, bahagi dengan sales. Okay, so kalau tadi gross profit margin nak tengok the control of the variable cost. Okay, dalam case ni dia akan tengok ability untuk control all of the cost, which is in consideration of operating cost, kecuali interest and tax. Okay, so sama juga, the higher the ratio is preferred as it indicates lower cost of structure and will result in higher profits. Okay, better productivity dalam case ni the operations. Okay, ini that is the operation. So how well they manage dia punya operations. Okay, so sama juga answer in percentage, you multiply with 100. Okay, I skip ni kejap. I go to the third margin. Margin yang ketiga adalah net profit margin. Okay, net profit margin. Okay, ni diletak net profit ratio. Be better selalunya kita guna perkataan net profit margin. Okay, net profit margin. Sama juga, when you see margin, you know it's sales, and then kita ambil net profit. So dalam case ni, I just nak recap. Sometimes the statement might use the terms net profit. They might use the word net income. They might use the terms earning after tax. All three are the same. Okay, ketiga-tiga adalah yang sama. Net profit, net income, ataupun earnings after tax. Okay, so all three is actually referring to the same information. Okay, so don't get confused. Tak cari information dalam annual statements ataupun annual reports, tak jumpa. Okay, so they might use any of these three, net profits, earnings after tax, ataupun net income. Okay, sometimes kalau dia rugi, dia tak guna net profit lah, dia guna net loss contohnya. So loss tu indicates negative returns. Sama juga kalau digunakan earning after tax, kalau dia letak dalam bracket ataupun negative values, tu menunjukkan dia rugilah, net loss. Ataupun net income pun sama. Kalau net income, dia might use negative ataupun dalam bracket, which indicates rugi. Okay, cuma net loss saja dia akan tukar terms from profit to loss. Tapi kalau earning after tax dengan net income, they might use negative. Okay, so in fact semua even operating before interest and taxes ni pun possible untuk negatif juga, tapi selalunya jarang lah dia negatif dekat sini. Selalunya dia might negatif dekat net profit margin, kan earning after tax ni lah. Okay, so the higher the ratio, the better. Okay, indicates higher ability of the firms to obtain profits for distribution of the equity holders. Sebab as a shareholders, okay, your shareholders, you're going to receive your dividend akan distributed based on dia punya net profit. Okay, net profit ni yang akan dia distribute kepada shareholders. Right, so the tinggi the ratio, better income lah untuk shareholders, walaupun shareholder tak akan dapat the whole earning after tax ni for themselves. Okay, akan ada certain portion dia akan bayar bentuk dividend kepada shareholders. Okay, tu kita akan measure kejap lagi lah, ada lagi types of measurement of dividend per share contohnya. Okay, ataupun earnings per share kepada shareholders lah in detail. Tapi ini secara generalnya kita akan tengok the net profit margin. Okay, so the three margins saya ulang. We have gross profit margin, operating profit margin, ataupun kita gunakan earning before interest and taxes, and then we have earning after tax ataupun net profit margin. Now we go back to the third, patutnya 3, tapi this is technically the fourth ratio, which is operating ratio. Okay, operating ratio ni, this is the only ratio dalam profitability yang lagi rendah lagi bagus, because we are measuring the expenses. The rest we measure the profits. So obviously kita nak profit kita setinggi yang mungkin lah. Okay, the higher the better. But for operating ratio, we are measuring the expenses. Okay, the expenses. So therefore, the lower the ratio, the better. Sebab it indicates that dia boleh manage their expenses more efficient. Okay, more efficient. So it provides an indication of the management control of the cost of operation, and lower the ratio is desirable as it translates better efficiency in managing dia punya sales amount lah. Okay, so operating expenses ni berada uh, di bawah gross profit lah selalunya. After the gross profit, they're gonna list down all the operating expenses, operating costs, and then baru dapat operating profit. Okay, so operating expenses ni sits just below the gross profit, but above the operating profit. Okay, so sama juga, the answer will be in percentage. So you have to multiply with 100. Okay, so that's the 4 ratios, 3 margins, 1 operating ratio that use expenses, and the 5th and 6th kita gunakan the returns. Okay, so return ni sama dengan net profit. We use earnings after tax. Okay, remember earning after tax, either they use earning after tax, EAT, they might use net income, they might use net profit. So sama je. Okay, mana-mana antara 3 tu lah. Okay, so ROA, also known as ROI, return on investment. Okay, and it measures the overall effectiveness of the management in generating profits using the assets. Okay, so the answer in percentage. So in fact, semua ratio dalam profitability is in percentage. So semua kena darab 100. And we go back to the higher the ratio, the better. Okay, lagi tinggi ratio dia lagi bagus, to indicate that the firms can maximize the assets in order to generate their sales. Ataupun ini bukan sales, to generate their profits. Okay, to generate their profits. And kalau ROA, formula dia return bahagi total assets. So kalau return on equity, dia akan ambil earning after tax bahagi dengan equity. Okay, return on equity bahagi dengan total equity. Okay, sama juga, the higher the ratio, the better. It shows that the return is better for the shareholders, sebab shareholders masuk dalam dia punya apa? Contributors will be affected in the equity, total equity. Okay, the higher the ratio, the better off for the owners. Okay, lagi tinggi lagi bagus. Okay, so that's 6 types of ratios under the profitability. And if we go back to let me try pula kali ni. Okay, kejap sikit dulu. Okay, boleh nampak ni So I try guna satu lagi device ni untuk share with you the so-called question So kita dah buat tadi profitability. Okay, profitability. Dalam case ni, the 2 profitability ratios in the question is net profit margin dengan return on assets. Okay, ada 2 ratio ni, net profit margin dengan return on assets, ROA lah. Okay, so the information that we need ada dekat dalam income statement and also the balance sheet just now. So net profit margin, we're going to use earning after tax. We're going to use earning after tax to 855. And untuk net profit margin and we need the sales figure lah ni, 850 to 100. So if you want to measure let's say net profit margin. Okay, net profit margin. We need to have net profit dia. So 885. Cepat sangat kira ni. Baru nak tulis. Dia tak apa. Sales 850. 100. Okay, dah dapat 100 lah. So berapa tadi? Let me see. 34%. Ada point tak? Okay, 34%. So 34% in comparison, 33 points, okay lah, 34%. So in comparison dengan industry average, we can say that the Supermax Berhad's net profit margin is better than the industry average, which indicates that the companies can generate better income to the shareholders as compared to the industry average. Okay, itu kalau net profit margin lah. Sebab 34 versus 30 kat sini kan. So better for Supermax lah. Supermax punya performance in terms of net profit margin is better. Kalau tengok ROA sama lah. Return juga. We're gonna use 288.855 juga. And the so-called total asset dia kat atas 391,400. Okay, 391. Darab 100 juga. 73.8%. Okay, 73.8%. Thank you, Syafiq. So 73.8% is again higher than the industry average of 68%. And 68%. Again, kita boleh comment that the performance of Supermax Berhad with regards to the returns on asset ataupun ROA is much better than the industry average, which indicates that the firm's ability to generate profits utilizing their total assets. Okay, dia punya generate profits dia lagi besar, okay, lagi tinggi as compared to the industry average. Okay, better lah dalam case ni 73.8%. Okay, and if you notice dalam industry average ni, itu je 8 ratios that we've done for the past seminar 1 and today. 8 je. Kita baru 4 kategori yang tadi. So we have one more category. And this is what I said last time. Out of all the ratios, all the categories, during the final exams, hanya 4 kategori je yang akan keluar final. Leverage, liquidity dulu, liquidity, leverage, activity and profitability. That's it. So daripada 4 kategori ni, setiap satu memang akan keluar 2 je. Akan keluar 2 sahaja. So some of the categories yang ada 3 ratios, okay, macam liquidity ada 3 kan. So chances untuk hafal formula tu is quite easy sebab 2 daripada 3 tu memang confirm keluar. Okay, and most of the time memang current dengan quick. Contohnya lah. Untuk leverage ada 3 juga. Ada debt ratio dengan debt to equity and times interest earn. Okay, and out of these 3, times interest earn ni memang for sure dia akan keluar. Okay, so formula dia yang kena hafal is either debt ratio ataupun debt to equity ratio. And if you recall, sebelum ni ada cakap debt ratio tu nama lain dia adalah debt to asset ratio. So formula dia senang nak ingat lah. Debt bahagi total asset. Kalau dia keluar debt to equity is debt bahagi total equity. Okay, times interest earn ni memang kena ingat lah. Earning before interest and taxes bahagi dengan interest. Okay, and then yang the next one tu memang kena hafal lah. Before bila exams, untuk activity dia ada total asset turnover dengan ACP. Okay, ACP ni I can say 99% memang dia akan tanya most of the time sebab ratio dia the only yang dalam hari. So most of the time ACP ni will always appear in the final exam. Okay, memang last time memang I suruh all the students suruh memorize lah ACP ni. Tapi untuk ratio-ratio yang lain, dalam activity is quite easy to remember sebab the name of the ratio is the formula itself. Contohnya macam ni lah, total assets turnover. Remember turnover tadi sales kan? Cuma turnover ni I tak beritahu tadi, you can associate juga dengan positioning of the formula dia turnover. Dan tadi masuk liquidity, leverage, profitability. Apa? Yang so far yang kita dah buat so far, liquidity, leverage, activity ratios dan profitability. Okay, yang tak masuk adalah market. Kalau exam lah So that's why untuk illustration ni, I boleh tunjuk for the four category sahajalah. Tapi kita tak habis lagi. We have one more. So let's look at the last category. Okay, kategori yang terakhir. Okay, kategori yang terakhir, the fifth one. Fifth one is market ratios. Okay. So, market ratio ni tak keluar dalam final exam before this because the information required is beyond your statements lah. Dia beyond balance sheet and dia beyond daripada income statement. So we have to have more information. Okay. And this market ratios is only applicable for public trading company saja. Okay, public listed company lah basically. Okay, because we use information relating dengan dia punya stock price. We need to know their number of shares outstanding, for example. So all of those information tak nampak in the balance sheet or income statement. Okay. So here you can see another 6 ratios. Okay, another 6 ratios. So far berapa dah? As in total we have liquidity 3, leverage 3 dan 6, and then we have activity 5 ratio, 11, and then profitability 6, 17, and then plus 6 ada 23 in total lah, 23 ratios altogether. Okay. So we have earnings per share, dividend payout ratio, dividend yield, BVPS, book value per share, and PE ratio, price earning ratio. Okay, so earnings per share. Okay, so it measures the amount of earnings available to the common stockholders per share. Right. Some of the information still kita boleh cari dalam kita punya balance sheet or income statement lah, tetapi some of the information is not available on those statements. Okay, so some of this information kita kena cari kat tempat lain. Alright, so for example this one, earning per share. So earning per share formula dia is earnings after tax, which is net profit, net income, and we're going to divide it with the number of common shares. Okay, number of common shares ni sometimes is also known as number of shares outstanding. Okay, selalunya kita guna initials NOSO tu lah, NOSO, number of shares outstanding. So number of shares outstanding ni represent the number of shares out in the market. Ada berapa unit shares kat dalam market sekarang. Selalunya jumlah dia in thousands lah. 10,000, kadang-kadang 100,000 pun ada. Okay, number of units. Okay, so you know kan, in Malaysia kita punya trading, kita punya units in trading adalah in lot basis. So lot basis bermaksud satu lot equivalent to 100 units. So number of common shares ni multiply lah, ada berapa lots yang ada dekat dalam market tu, ada berapa ribu investors yang ada dalam market tu. So that's the number of common stocks ataupun number common shares available in the market. Okay, information ni kat mana dapat? A lot of information ada je dekat dalam portal-portal related dengan investment, dengan stocks investment dalam equity punya sections. Either dalam Bursa Malaysia kita boleh cari, kita boleh cari dalam annual report tu pun sebenarnya ada, tapi bukan dalam the balance sheet ataupun income statement lah. You have to go through to the notes untuk cari berapa units dia, number of shares outstanding, or kalau nak lagi cepat you just Google ataupun find the online je, kita boleh carilah number of common stocks available in the market for that particular year. Selalunya sama je lah setiap tahun, tapi there's a possibility that they increase the number of shares. Kalau contohnya macam mana number common stocks ni dia boleh bertambah, mungkin dia issue new issuance. Masa dia launch, masa dia nak jual for the first time, kita panggil dia IPOs kan, Initial Public Offerings. Okay. Tapi kadang-kadang company boleh issue new stocks. Okay, untuk generate funds, company boleh jual stocks yang baru. Okay, dia increasekan the number of stocks in the market. So itu menyebabkan number of common stock ni boleh bertambah untuk setahun seterusnya lah. Ataupun satu lagi, bila dia buat dividend policy, dia buat stock split. Contohnya stock split ni maksudnya sekarang dia ada 1 juta unit, and then dia buat stock split, dia double kan. Daripada 1 juta unit jadi 2 juta unit contohnya. So that can cause the number of common stock ni bertambah. So you have to check lah every year jumlah dia. So jumlah dia tak sentiasa sama setiap tahun lah. Okay, walaupun in common terms selalunya sama. So you have to check. So in this case, EPS, earning per share, the answer will be in ringgit. Okay, dollar sign tu ringgit lah. Dalam our case is ringgit Malaysia. So the higher the ratio indicates better income per share to the shareholders. Macam kita measurement net profit margin tadi lah. Net profit margin is net profit bahagi sales kan. So EPS is net profit bahagi dengan berapa juta unit shareholders yang ada. Okay, number of common shares in the market now. Okay, so the higher the ratio, the better income, possibility of income to the shareholders. Second, we have dividend per share. Okay, kalau income tadi kita tengok net profit ya. So kalau dividend per share, kita nak tengok the cash dividend given to the common stockholders. Okay, so shows the amount of current earnings paid out on per share basis to the common stockholders. Okay, dividend per share ni, when we talk about dividend policy, okay, kebanyakan company akan bayar dividend quarterly basis. Okay, quarterly basis. Okay, tetapi amount cash dividend ni selalunya kita ambil annual amount lah. Okay, annual amount. So this information kita boleh dapat dalam annual report juga. The amount of cash dividend given to the stockholders for the year. Okay, kita boleh tengok dalam annual reports. And sama macam tadi, bila dia per share basis, we're gonna divide with the shares outstanding. So note that shares outstanding ni sama je dengan number of common shares. So term dia je berbeza, tetapi jumlah unit ataupun jumlah number of shares tu mesti adalah sama. Number of common shares and the shares outstanding. So that's why nama lain dia adalah number of shares outstanding ataupun NOSO tadi, NOSO. Okay, so dividend per share also, the answer will be in percent, in ringgit. Similarly, the higher the ratio, it indicates that the firm's management believes that the growth can be sustained. Maksudnya kat sini, the companies give out higher dividends to the shareholders, so indicates that the company tu dia boleh sustain dia punya business lah. Kalau dia punya company tu still new contohnya, is still in the growing stage, selalunya cash dividend dia akan jadi rendah. Okay, so they will keep their money more in the company in order for them to grow lah. Okay, tetapi bila company tu dah strong, stable, okay, they're gonna give out higher dividend to the stockholders. Okay, so the higher dividend per share, lagi tinggi lah dia punya ability ataupun beliefs that they can sustain their growth. Okay, next is DPR. So DPR ni selalunya ratio yang investors like to know. Okay, I invest in a certain company, I nak tahu berapa banyak ataupun how high my chance to get high returns. Okay, sebab dividend payout ratio ataupun in short kita panggil DPR indicates that the amount of earnings available will be paid out as dividend. Walaupun company tu sometimes earn a lot of profits, tapi kalau dia punya dividend tu small, itu akan menyebabkan dividend payout ratio kita akan jadi rendah. Okay, as an investor, kita nak kita punya dividend payout ratio tu to be high as possible lah, so that kita boleh enjoy more profits ataupun more dividends. Sebab kita punya income as investors datang dalam bentuk dividends. Okay, so note that dividend payout ratio ni menggunakan dua information yang kita dah buat tadi. Okay, dividend per share adalah from number 2 and earning per share yang ni datang dalam formula yang pertama. Okay, so dividend per share selalunya jumlah dia dalam ringgit ataupun sen. Dividend per share sama lah kan, ya, ringgit. And earning per share pun sama. Okay, selalunya dalam ringgit. So earning per share. So dividend payout ratio ni, selain daripada in ringgit, sometimes we might use ratio in percentage as well. Dividend payout ratio. Okay, mungkin dalam percentage juga. So kalau dia dalam percentage, kita buang je per share ni. Kataan per share ni. So maknanya dividend bahagi dengan net profit. Then we can get it in percentage. Okay, some of the ratio kita akan guna in the future, mungkin menggunakan percentage. Okay. So again, the higher the ratio indicates their earnings, how well their earnings in order to support the dividend payment. Lagi tinggi the earnings ataupun lagi tinggi dia punya dividends per share, lagi possible tinggi dia punya dividend payout ratio lah. Okay. Number 4, dividend yield. So another dividend indicators. So dividend yield, formula dia adalah dividend per share. Dividend per share, again, based on number 2. Okay, bahagi dengan price per share. Okay, price per share ni kita boleh dapat direct from historical prices. Okay, price per share ni kita tak perlu kira price per share ni is the market price for that particular time. So kalau you buat tahun 2023 Disember 31 contohnya, tengoklah price per share on the 31st December 2023 contohnya. Okay, for that particular time untuk dapatkan the dividend yield. Okay, so dividend yield, perkataan yield menunjukkan the ratio is in percentage. So again, the higher the ratio, the better. Okay, so it will indicate that the percentage of returns to investors for every dollar they invested in. Okay. Number 5, book value per share. So indicates the value of equity for each share of common stocks. So dalam case ni, book value kita gunakan common equity. So common equity ni is the total equity lah, kita ambil je dalam annual reports tu, dalam balance sheet ada total equity. And then we're going to divide it with the number of shares outstanding. Okay, so the ratio indicates the value of value remain for common stockholders after all assets are liquidated and all debtors are paid. Okay, so the market price usually will be above the book value lah in the long run. So kita nak compare lah the book value. Book value ni, perkataan book tu sebenarnya this is the accounting terms untuk menunjukkan accounting value of your share sekarang as comparison dengan the market price ataupun market value in the market lah. Okay, so that's why dia kata kat sini market price selalunya akan lagi tinggi daripada book value in the long run. Okay, and the last one, number 6, is the PE ratio. Okay, this is another indicator yang diguna pakailah untuk untuk measures the market capabilities. So it shows the relationship between the market price and also the EPS, earning per share. So again, earning per share kita dah discuss in number 1. And market price ni kita boleh dapat sama macam yang ni tadi, price per share ni. Price per share ni is market price. So market price per share dapatkan daripada all the online platforms. And then kita divide dengan earning per share yang kita dah kira based on number 1 tadi. Okay. So in short, PE lah, price to earning ratio. Okay, price earning ratio. So it indicates the investor's preference on the company's share with the respect of earnings available, and that it's how the investors are willing to pay for each dollar of profit generated by the company. So there are 2 views on this untuk PE ratio, untuk PE ratio, because the higher the ratio indicates that the firm's price is overvalued. So from the internal point of view, as a company, kita nak PE ratio kita setinggi mungkin lah, so that it shows that kita punya price tu tinggi. Okay, market price kita way above than our earnings. Okay, tetapi for the new investors, bila dia nak invest, dia tak invest in overvalued stocks. Okay, sebab dia terpaksa bayar mahal for the market price masa tu is selling at premium. So as new investors, bila dia nampak PE ratio of a company tu tinggi, so dia nampaklah company tu overvalued, so therefore dia takkan invest for that particular company. So there are 2 ways to look at this PE ratio lah. Okay, so untuk internal staff, dia akan, ataupun internal managers, they want their PE ratio to be as high as possible. Sebab bila price dia tinggi, So owner of the company, the shareholders akan ada higher, wealth lah. Dia punya kekayaan dia lebih lah sebab market price dia lagi tinggi, kena darab dengan unit yang dia ada, so obviously the wealth will be higher. Okay, tetapi as a newcomer, as investor, baru nak beli stocks ni, dia akan nampak harga tu overvalued and it will be considered as expensive, so dia akan avoid high PE ratios. Okay, tapi in your case, you are measuring from internal managers point of view. Bila you nak buat ratios nanti, you imagine yourself as the managers of the company, so you nak your PE ratio to be as high as possible lah, tu je. Okay, so that's the final ratio. Okay, the final ratios together tadi kita dah kira ada berapa 6, 11, ada 23 ratio. Okay, 20 ratios all together. So dalam notes ni juga, I've included some examples similar like what we did based on the past year question. Adalah a set of balance sheet with the income statement, and then dia ada some some small ataupun little steps macam mana nak kira and compare dengan industry average. Okay, tapi mostly kita dah buat during our lectures lah. Kita dah go through everything. Okay, cuma again samalah, we don't have market ratios as an example. Okay, even though during final exam, as I said sebelum ni, tak pernah keluar market ratios, but for your group projects, I nak bawa balik kepada group projects you all. After this week, I can, in fact tomorrow I guess, I'm gonna post the instruction for the group project. Okay, group project you I upload tomorrow the instructions, and the ratio akan covers all 5 categories. Okay, all 5 categories, tapi bukan semua 23 ratio lah, don't worry. I will not ask you to calculate all 23 ratios. I'm gonna pick and choose. Okay, out of the 10 ratios, maybe 10 daripada 23 tu, 5 categories tu, I akan pilih 2 setiap satu. Sama macam final exam, cuma I tambah the market ratios as well. Because you have the access untuk dapatkan information either from the internet ataupun from the annual reports itself. Okay, so there are gonna be 10 out of 23 possibilities. Okay. So nanti bacalah dia punya instructions in terms of how many members in a group. Setiap seorang tu kena pilih satu company and the company must be within the same industry. Okay, tak boleh satu company pilih telecommunication, satu company pilih trading, satu member pilih trading, satu member pilih telco, satu member pilih financial institutions contohnya. Tak boleh lah. Semua kalau pilih industri tu telecommunication, semua 4-5 orang mesti telecommunication. Contohnya lah. And satu lagi rule, mesti pilih company yang public listed and they must be listed in Bursa Malaysia. So by tomorrow, selain daripada instruction, I'm gonna post a Google form. And Google form tu adalah boleh guna Google form lah kot senang, whereby you gonna book the industry. Okay, so first come first serve. Industri mana, kalau group pertama dah pilih telco contohnya, telco, so group kedua dan seterusnya cannot choose telco lah, choose other industry. We have a lot of industries dalam Bursa Malaysia. Pilih je apa industri, ataupun sometimes they call it by sector contohnya, so that you gonna be different from one group to another groups. Okay, it must be, like I said, listed in Malaysia. So janganlah ambil Apple now, kita tahu lah Apple tu ada, tapi we don't have Apple company listed in Malaysia, so don't use Apple lah as an example. Okay, as a company. Adidas ke contohnya, Adidas tu is a brand kan, tapi they don't have Adidas Berhad ataupun Adidas Malaysia Berhad, dia tak ada, dia hanya ada importer je yang import barang tu. So they don't have a company here. So kita pilih company yang listed. So macam mana tahu company tu listed ke tak? Refer to Bursa Malaysia punya listing. Okay, I'm going to share with that the list ataupun the link with you guys as well. So you pilih lah company yang ada dalam tu based on industry. Okay, based on industry. Right. Before we wrap up topic 3 ni, so analysis type ada beritahu kat you, kita ada 3 jenis. We have the trend analysis whereby we measure based on time series. Okay, sometimes it's called vertical. So vertical tu tahulah vertical tu straight macam ni, vertical. Vertical macam ni. Ni horizontal katanya. So it's a time series approach to measure the firm performance over time. Okay, so proper analysis requires at least 3 to 5 years. So that's why in your case, I'm going to ask you to prepare for 3 years analysis. Yang minimum lah 3 tahun. So 3 tahun punya analysis ni, you hanya perlu download 2 tahun punya annual report saja. Because remember I said, in annual reports, the financial statements tu akan tunjuk 2 tahun punya data. Data tahun semasa, the date of the ataupun the year of the annual reports published, and then dibagi previous year punya data for comparison purposes. Okay, so let's say you nak buat measurement for 2024, 2023, 2022 contohnya. So you just download 2024 punya data sebab dia ada 24 and 23. And then you download 23 ataupun 22 lah salah satu. Mungkin katakanlah you nak ambil yang last year punya 2023 sebab dalam 2023 ada 2022 dalam tu. Dah cukup 3 tahun. So even though it's 3 years, we just need 2 years of annual reports. Okay. And then from the trends performance, kita boleh tengoklah sama ada dia improve ataupun decline. Okay, second is comparative. The one yang kita buat based on industry average is actually comparative. Kita compare from one company to another ataupun one company with the industry average. Okay, within the same time frame. So selalunya comparative ni tahun yang sama lah, 2023 versus 2023 of company A versus company B. Okay, tapi the one that you are doing for your group project adalah kita panggil dia combine ataupun hybrid analysis. Okay, the most informative because they combine kan the trend and comparative. Remember tadi you have four members at least kan, contohnya 4 orang member dalam satu group. So setiap orang ni, setiap member ni akan buat satu company. Okay, buat satu company. And they have to have 3 years each. Okay, so individually. So sebenarnya dia individual dalam group. You kena buat your own company. Okay, so you have to make sure semua member buat kerja lah dalam tu. Setiap orang kena buat their own. Tapi at the end nanti you combine and you analyze as a whole. Okay, I tak nak analysis tu in silos. Bukan company A, ni analisis dia, and separately sampai habis tak ada apa intersection between all the companies. So combine ni you boleh tunjukkan the trend individually, tetapi better sebenarnya you merge the information into one analysis. Okay, walaupun dari 4 orang yang berbeza buat 4 different companies, tetapi analysis tu you merge and combine to make it more, like I said lah, more informative. Okay, kita boleh nampak lah. So you boleh guna bar chart contohnya untuk indicate okay, bar chart ni untuk current ratio ada 3 tahun tapi 4 bars in 3 years. Contohnya ada bagi hint lah tu kan. 4 bars untuk 3 tahun, then you can see the performance within the company ataupun within the peers, and then the trend kita boleh tengok sama ada all of them naik ke, ada yang turun naik ke, ada yang turun ke. Which indicates the combined analysis tu lah. Okay, you boleh merge kat situ. Okay, and lastly, in terms of the limitations, obviously any economic analysis, accounting analysis, finance analysis, dia tak perfect. Always ada limitation lah. So untuk financial ratios akan ada limited comparability if company tu dia terlalu banyak diversification dalam company tu. Okay, conglomerate contohnya. Kalau kita ambil parent company, nak cari dia punya peers yang ada all the same, diversified industry kat dalam tu mungkin susah. Okay, so therefore dia kena cari company yang comparable within the same industry. Okay, number 2, different accounting treatment. So that's why bila nak you buat ratio ni, kita buat semua yang listed in Malaysia sahaja. Because Malaysia kita tahulah dari segi accounting treatment, all Malaysian public listed akan gunakan Malaysian Financial Reporting System, MFRS tu, Malaysian Financial Reporting System. Walaupun MFRS ni follows IFRS tu International Financial Reporting System, IFRS. Okay, tapi still we gonna have a separate ataupun special accounting treatment to a certain items. Okay, so in making it consistent, so semua kena guna Malaysian public listed company sahaja. Okay, so ratios are tool for quantitative, so kita ignore altogether qualitative. Kita tak tengok pun skill of the management dari segi yang qualitative lah. Dari segi kelaikan akademik ke kita tak tengok. Kita tak tengok how the numbers of managers dalam company tu kita tak tengok. Okay, so kita ignore the qualitative aspect lah. So therefore mungkin sometimes the data tu can be misleading a bit sebab kita hanya tengok quantitative aspect sahaja. Ratios can give false results kalau kita salah collect data atau kita dapatkan incorrect accounting data. So the concept of garbage in, garbage out lah. So you take garbage punya information, kita akan produce garbage results. So result tu boleh salah kalau kita dapat data yang salah. Right, so that's number 3. So dia tak boleh detect lah sama ada your calculation tu betul ke tak. Okay. Ratios are calculated based on past data, so therefore do not provide complete information for future forecasting. Kita kena buat more analysis lah. On top of ratio yang ada, kita kena buat additional analysis. So untuk forecasting, kita akan learn this in topic number 4 next meeting. Okay, ratios also can be misleading kalau dia based on false ataupun window dress. So they quite similar macam number 4, cuma number 4 tadi kita dapat data yang salah. Okay, number 6 ni data tu bukanlah tak salah tetapi telah di-manipulate. Okay, manipulate from the company tu ubah data tu untuk mislead contohnya. Then can cause the ratio to be misleading as well, the results. Okay. So this is all back to data. So as a analyst, kita tak boleh verify ni lah. So verify ni kena perlukan accounting punya treatment yang lain lah. So kita ignore je lah untuk ni. Okay, cuma ni adalah antara limitation yang ada for the ratios. So as a recap, kita dah habis kita punya ratios punya topik. Okay, so once we've done this, technically you can start with your group project. Okay, so I akan upload the instructions dalam future together with the Google Form punya links so that everybody boleh tengok lah. So kalau your peers, your groups, your colleagues dah pilih certain industry, so the next one jangan pilih industri yang sama, kena pilih industri yang lain. Okay, and all of members, kalau ada 4 orang, contohnya, setiap orang tu kena pilih lah company masing-masing lah. Again, company obviously tak boleh company yang sama lah. Right, and bila buat analysis tu, katakanlah you pilih 2024, 2023, 2022 contohnya, 3 years, because you have to do 3 years punya analysis. Semua company kena buat tahun yang sama lah, 24, 23, 22. Okay, cuma bear in mind, mungkin ada certain company 2024 punya data pun tak ada lagi, contohnya lah. Okay, contoh tak ada 2024. Dia ada paling later 2023. Contoh 2023 confirm dah ada. So semua kena buat lah 23, 22, 21. Dia tak boleh some company buat 2024 sampai 2022, some 2023 sampai 2021, tak boleh. Mesti konsisten semua yang dalam group yang sama. Okay, what else? And the output, macam saya cakap, dia gonna be 2 outputs. Number 1, a written report. And then the next one is video presentation. And as I recall last time, initially kita fix dia punya submission tu week 5 seminar 5 Okay, nanti kita tengok balik lah. Nanti I will upload together with the deadline jugalah kat dalam instruction tu. Okay, dalam instruction. So just browse through YouFuture starting tomorrow. Okay, for the instructions and the details of the group project. Company kena beza. Memang kena beza. Cuma bear in mind if you choose siapa yang nak terfikir nak buat financial institutions financial institutions punya annual reports, financial statements is not the same as common industry. Okay, contohnya lah paling simple bila kita nak buat inventory contohnya. So financial institutions selalunya tak ada inventory. They don't have inventory punya items. Okay, unlike company yang buat construction ke, buat trading ke, consumer products ke, they have inventory contohnya. Tapi untuk financial institutions, bank ke contohnya, dia tak ada inventory dalam dia punya annual report. So nanti bila tu susah sikit nak kira lah. Okay, so just take that ataupun bear that in your mind lah. Okay, tak apa. Alright, so kalau tak ada apa-apa, thank you very much. Sorry ambil masa lebih sikit. 4:12 dah. So I nampak ada yang dah boleh sign in. So siapa yang belum sign in, don't forget to sign in your attendance dalam YouFuture tu. Right, and I will compare against the records from this Google Meet lah juga. Okay, tapi please sign in dalam YouFuture tu if possible. Alright, so insyaAllah see you guys in 2 weeks time for topic number 4. So topic number 3 habis hari ni. Technically you can start doing your group project. Sebab topik number 4 nanti bila kita dah habis, you can prepare for your midterm ataupun test 1 pula lepas tu. Alright, so thank you very much and insyaAllah see you guys in 2 weeks time. Alright, Assalamualaikum.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, welcome.